all taught that culture, the root of it is the word cult, as in to cultivate. Anything that you cultivate, even a culture in a laboratory, if you're trying to work to create an antivirus or a vaccine or some kind of inoculation or cure to a disease, when you are doing this, if you're in a garden and you're trying to grow tomatoes or some collard greens or something else, you have to actually take time to seed, or let's start in the way it would happen, prepare the environment, find the seed, study the environment, study the things in the environment that may pose a threat to the thing you're trying to grow, right? The type of bugs or birds or squirrels or any gardeners, anyone's ever grown anything, you know, you have to be mindful of pests and rodents and things that, or deer or rabbits, things that could come and eat your crop. Mm-hmm. Well, in that same way, when we are talking culture, culture is focused or should be focused in order to bring them all together. The environment that the culture will have to be in. We're in an environment where we're under attack. We're being attacked by constant viruses, whether they are mental viruses, psychological viruses, which I'll ask Dr. Guy-Jean-T to speak on, musical viruses, which I'll ask Dr. Horace Wright to speak on, film viruses, which I'll ask Brother Demurai Deniran to speak on, right? All of these different viruses, political virus, agricultural viruses, linguistical viruses, religious viruses, spiritual viruses, educational viruses, viruses as it pertains to sex and gender. So if we know that, then the culture that we're putting together globally, there's people all around the world doing this, not just me, right? Though I'm grateful to have been able to be involved in the writing of these books, I always say through me, not from me, right? So I'm conscious enough, not even about humility, I have enough sense to know that the shoulders on which I stand, that those shoulders are the broad shoulders that allow me to stand, that allow each of us as speakers or moderators or people viewing today to stand. So when we look at the culture must be put together by all of these great minds here today, those that were here last week, the week before, and the week before that, and those that are all around the world working from the churches to the highways, to the mosques, to the synagogues, to the conscious organizations, to the school teachers, to the doctors, to the lawyers, to the engineers, to the politicians, etc., to the laymen and laywomen. All of those, we have to bring it together at one and take the best musical minds, the best social minds, the best psychological minds, the best medicinal minds, the best herbal minds or herbology, right? The best minds of these fields, and bring it together in order and know that the environment that we're placing this seed in will be under attack. So our cultural immune system, when we looked at the title some months back when all of us were planning, what's the name going to be? This name was selected because, like preparing a crop to go in the ground, this cultural immune system that we would be discussing today, I would pray, would encapsulate, would bring together all of the necessary components to vaccinate this crop against the visible parasites and rodents and the invisible parasites and rodents, which we call psychological warfare, as well as overt and covert racism. If we can do that as speakers and presenters and those listening today, then we begin the journey towards bringing to the world our narrative of what Blackness, Africanness, melaninites, or melaninist, or indigenous, what it really means, what it represents, and how it's going to shape, again, our destiny. Destiny is the thing that we hold, and I will stop there.
Okay, well, I'm going to go right over to the right pastor. Dr. Horace Wright, I know you've been in the music industry a long time. So my question is, has the frequency changed our concept of our culture or how we embrace our culture?
Namaste. Turn down the system a bit, please. On a whole, it's not just when you say the frequency, music, total, has affected us. If we went I know everyone's been very stiff today. I don't know why everyone's been very stiff. I'm gonna loosen it up a bit, right? Please, because I know it's everyone. Am I gonna be trapped up with a 5-minute thing again this week?
Of course.
Oh, yes.
I'm just asking, just asking, just asking. Right. What we're going to understand is that what we just heard a while ago was music as an African dancing. That was music taken from what we saw and feel on the planet. There was drums in there. There was chanting in there. And we'll use a chord, we'll use strings. These was our natural music. As we started to, as they say, regress, we started to grab onto other people's vibe of music. When the electric came into play, that changed the whole dimension. Now, when you've asked about the frequency, yes, they've shifted the frequencies within our music where they needed. I say they. We're talking about. I mentioned it last week. The British Standard Institute, as they were deciding to make themselves part of this. The same way when they came amongst us, and they looked at our religion, our way of life, our culture. They, as a cultureless set of beings, they needed to remove us from our culture. Part of removing us from our culture was taking away our music, or taking away that tone or the vibration of our music. So they had to shift the frequency so that they could also vibrate on that frequency that they needed us to vibrate on. So in time, they allowed us to move the frequencies, change the rhythm, change the style. So it's not just the frequency, it's the whole thing over years when we moved away from the natural drum beat, and then we moved into, I'm going to go to the Caribbean, and we moved into ska beat, and we moved into the merengue, into ska beat,